Yo, hey, check this out.
You're gonna learn today.
Welcome to the Lakeside Chat. I'm your host, Brother John Muhammad, and as always, we're here with community members, community leaders, and everyday people, and we talk about things that matter most to our community. So please make sure you share the page, like it, go to facebook.com/Lakeside Chat. Today we have a very esteemed guest, actually a candidate for City Council District 6. And I always mess up your name. You just told me, but I still don't have it yet. But I have Akile. I got that part. So your name?
Akile Cainion.
Akile Cainion.
Akile Cainion.
What is the origin of that name?
Well, Eritha comes from my father just named me. He wanted a daughter, or he actually wanted a sister. And then his mother passed, so he always had the name Eritha in mind. Okay. So he named me Eritha. Akile was a name that I found for myself to connect back to who I am as an African. Okay. So, yeah.
Awesome. And so, just for our viewers who don't know you, who is Eritha Akile Cainion?
Well, Eritha Akile Cainion is a resident of St. Pete for 20 years. I'm 20 years old. Okay. I've been in this community for that length of time, and I've been to school. I graduated from St. Petersburg Collegiate High School. Okay. So the high school diploma and AA degree, and after that, instead of going off to school, I stayed here in my community to do the work. Right. I joined the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, and because they were a movement that I felt was out in the community, had actually produced things for the community. Right. And never compromised in their stance in fighting for Black people and everywhere around the world. And now I currently chair a campaign for justice for 3 Black teenage girls that were chased and left to drown in a pond. The names are Dominique Battle, Lanaya Miller, and Ashanti Butler, by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And actually we'll be embarking on the 1-year anniversary next Friday on March 31st. Okay. And now I'm running for District 6 City Council.
All right. That's impressive, right? And so what inspired you to want to run for City Council?
Well, like I said, 20 years I've been here, and I've heard the stories from my father and his father about what just the drastic changes that our community has experienced. Right. And in my existence, I've seen these changes, and none of them have been positive for Black people in this city. And in fact, it seems like more failed policy after failed policy. And I don't want to go through another 20 years of unnecessary suffering of our community when an entire future, a positive future, is possible for all of St. Pete. Right. And I feel like, somebody has to be in a position of, city council, somebody has to be in this legislative position to be able to put policies in place that will benefit the Black community. So. Absolutely.
And so why do you think you'll win?
Well, I have a platform my slogan is Radical Times, Radical Solutions. Right. And these would be deemed probably as radical solutions, but I think that our community is ready for them. I think that I'm the only candidate that's talking about the real interests of the Black community. Some of those things being reparations, Black community control of the police, and economic development for the Black community, and understanding that is the key to ending all of the existing contradictions of our communities today. Right.
And so in your campaigning and just talking to people, when you talk about reparations, what kind of response are you getting when you're at the doors or in these conversations? What are the people saying? What kind of feedback are you getting?
Well, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from the people, because that's what the people want, and especially Black people, it's in their interest. Right. And so they wouldn't say, no, I don't want reparations. Right. And the fact of the matter is, it's what's owed to Black people. The city, should create a plan in their budget for reparations for Black people in the city because they have destroyed any means of our community being economically self-reliant.
And so when I've seen and been a part of different conversations about reparations and different circles, common understanding of reparations, people think, okay, we just want checks for Black people. What's your idea of reparation? When you say reparations, does that mean city just make money and give everybody an individual check so we can go buy Cadillacs and new clothes? Or what does that mean when you say reparations?
Again, like I said, the city needs to make a budget for reparations to the Black community in their overall budget of the year.
Right.
And right now they spend 1/5 of the budget for the police, and those police come into our community.
Right.
And we understand that if we had economic development in the Black community, we had jobs, we had commerce in our community, that the existing contradictions wouldn't happen. And that the reason why we are in the state that we are in today is because the city destroyed any means of us to be economically self-reliant. They took all of our businesses, and then they put police in our community. These police have murdered Black people in our community.
Right.
So reparations is owed. It needs to be made in the budget of the city. Reparations to Black people. And that's how Black people will receive these reparations.
Right. And so when you say economic development, because economic development has, again, these things have different meanings, different contexts, and so I've seen, people say, well, we need to bring businesses, or we need to develop, vacant lots. When you say economic development for the Black community, what are you referring to?
Well, I definitely think that, for instance, you said that economic development in the Black community's hands, and that it's not a situation where the city is handing out anything, but the city is, giving us the money that is owed to our community so that we as Black people can own our own businesses. And because we had these businesses before that they destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one actually of the plans is a 16th Street development plan that I want to put in place where the existing businesses there can be improved and future businesses can come, different opportunities can come, and that Black people can actually learn about how to create businesses and things like that, because that's something that's not out here.
So it's like an educational component of it.
It's everything.
People,
exactly.
Giving them skills.
Exactly.
And what something you said reminded me of another, economic development model where we talk about real money in real people's pockets. And so what we'll do is I want to take a quick break, and then once we come back from the break, we can talk more about your platform and some of the other points of progress that you intend to make. All right? So we'll be right back with more from the Lakeside Chat. Welcome back to the Lakeside Chat. I'm your host, Brother John Muhammad, here with Sister Akile Cainion. I love that name. And Akile, what does that mean, actually?
Well, its space is basically teacher, or somebody who is giving knowledge. So. All right,
cool. Yeah. That's what we're doing now at the Lakeside Chat, right? So before the break, we talked about your platform a little bit. We talked about reparations. One of the things I also saw as a part of your platform, and you mentioned it, was Black community control of the police. Would you mind telling us what does that mean exactly when you say we want Black community control of the police?
Right. So that means that, it's a just democratic right for the Black community to be able to hire, fire, and discipline, the police in their community that function as servants of the people.
Right.
And we know that, the police famous motto is to protect and serve, but that's a completely different reality when we're talking about Black people. And that if they're going to be functioning in our community, that they have to be under the jurisdiction of the people.
Right.
That the people have to be monitoring these people, so the police can't just function in any old kind of way.
Right.
And that they have to meet the needs of the people. They have to defend the people. They have to defend us.
And so the fundamental principles you said would be the hiring, the firing, and disciplining police officers. Okay. And that's when we say control. So it's not like saying that we don't want any police in our community. Is that a part of the overall goal of?
One, economic development for the Black community. Again, we talk about these existing contradictions, and that these can be eradicated when you have, when Black people in the city have the ability to feed, clothe, and house themselves.
Right.
And that's where you find the majority of the situations arise, is because we don't have that ability.
Right.
And so the police become necessary in our community now because there's this so-called crime. But when you have economic development in your community, you're able to feed, clothe, and house yourselves, and you don't have to go through these different means, and you have a way to envision a positive future for yourself.
Right.
Police don't become necessary in your community. But again, we have the power to hire, fire, and discipline the police who should function in our community as public servants of the people.
And I see, and it's something that has been said around the country as well, like crime stats are generally trending downward, but there's this feeling what people have where they don't feel safe in their neighborhoods. How would you say would be a solution, or how would you respond to or address that?
In terms of feeling safe?
Yeah, people just don't feel safe. Like when we were out, we did this peace walk over here in Childs Park, and we were just talking to people about the environment and what's going on, and highlighting the fact that crime stats are down, but then people say, well, yeah, I'm not comfortable doing certain things because I don't feel safe even though the stats are down. So is that something that you consider, or? Well,
I guess it would be hard, especially for Black people, to feel safe in a city where they're constantly being attacked.
Right.
And I don't think that it's necessarily a fear of, their own people. And again, these relationships that we have with one another comes from the fact that we are oppressed in our neighborhoods.
Right.
And, that these contradictions exist, that we have to now, go against one another to be able to get the basic needs to live.
What we're saying is horizontal violence. Other people call it black on black,
exactly.
which is a misnomer.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and those things arise, again, because we don't have the ability to feed, clothe, and house ourselves.
Right.
We can't produce for ourselves, so now we got to go get it from the man across the street. We got to go take what's his, because we need to feed ourselves too.
Right.
And so now you created this, this relationship with one another. And it's not a fault of our own. We didn't put ourselves in this situation. The city literally took out the means for Black people to be economically self-reliant. We can't put food on the table for ourselves.
Right.
And if we want to, we got to go all the way out our community to do so.
Right.
And so this whole chain of events that happen, that again, if we implement economic development in our communities, positive policies of economic development, those situations eventually.
And how much of a role would you say that education plays into this, and just having a knowledge of self and that awareness, and what are some things that we can do, because St. Petersburg has been highlighted, Pinellas County in particular, for having these 5 schools that are failing.
Right.
So is that something that you intend to address as a council member as well?
Definitely. Education is on one of my platforms, and points on the platform, and especially speaking to the education of Black youth. I believe in Black community control of schools, which is similar to Black community control of police, where we have the ability to hire, fire, discipline teachers, and also the creation of a curriculum that's relevant to Black students.
Right.
And the city, the current the mayor and district council members, they really wipe their hands and say that it's a county issue.
Right.
But these are citizens of the city, so we have to take it on.
Right.
And so this is another thing that makes me completely different from, any other person that's been in office, is the fact that nobody takes on this question of education, despite the fact that it affects, especially when we see the number that are affecting Black youth and the city just turning their heads.
So how would you address that from a city level, just thinking about the structure of city, county government in that relationship? What would be some of your proposals on how we could directly impact that from the city level without deferring to the county? What would be your thoughts on that?
So in order to take into our own hands, I think that we have to implement provisional programs that, again, create this type of curriculum, whether it's some type of after-school program or, weekend program, things like that, where children have the ability to come in and get the education that they need.
Okay.
And
so would that be done through like a park and rec thing, or because I know you said you want community control of it,
right?
And I know the city manages the parks and recreation department. I mean, you have all of these rec centers. Would that be something that would be done through there, or do you see that happening outside of that current structure?
I agree with that. I think that, again, Black people have to, embrace this, and, we will build this up and how it needs to look and what it needs to look like. And we will create, the board and everything like that we need to in order to make these type of decisions. And, if the city wants to take a greater stance in the education, especially in terms of Black youth, and, want to open that up, but we won't expect handouts from the city. We're going to do it ourselves.
Right.
So.
And so, and with a lot of this and most of this is going to, you mentioned it requires the input and the embracing of the community. So, knowing the work that we do, a lot of people say, well, politics don't matter. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. What's your thoughts on how we can engage our community to make things like this seem relevant or seem like they can do something about it and not take that approach, well, that's just for somebody else to do?
Right.
Have you thought about that, or and if so, what are your thoughts?
Well, I know, I want to mention that we're running up against a rigged election system. And it's a system where it's basically a sleight of hand. where the black community is gives the impression that we have the ability to vote in our leaders in the primary election.
Which is August 29th, right?
Yes, August 29th. And so we're given this impression that we're able to vote in our leaders. So you have District 6, which is a primarily black district, and then other districts such like it, where we vote in our leaders, but then we have the general election that is opened up to the entire city.
Right.
And so now our vote is completely, null and void because it's now opened up to the entire city. So ultimately, white people have the last say on who's going to represent your district.
Right.
And so that's complete sleight of hand.
Okay.
And it's a total attack on, the democratic rights of the black community.
So how you plan on handling that in your the way you see, your path to victory,
Right.
knowing that at some point you're going to need support or votes from the white community?
Yeah.
What's your path to addressing that and having them to say we should support this representative from District 6?
Well, I definitely think that starting with people in my district, really pushing them, because again, like you said, this whole doubt of voting and everything like that, which
Right.
is completely justified, because when you have a rigged election
That's true,
system, and the
My wife
politicians,
you just said what my wife would love to hear. Right.
and then you have these corrupt politicians that don't do anything for the black community. So it's a feeling that is completely justified, and they need to feel that there's a candidate worth voting for.
Right.
And so definitely we're out in this community talking to people face to face. I've just in the past week been to these businesses and been into the people's
Right.
faces, knocking on their doors.
And that'll move you through the primary, but
Right.
then now you have this general election, and you're in a room full of, because downtown is a part of District 6 also.
Right.
So let's say you at the Sierra Club and you have an audience full of white people, and how do you talk to them about black community control of the police?
I say it like I'm talking to my people,
Right.
and because I can't compromise my line.
I agree.
And that there are groups of white people out there who don't want to live at the expense of the black community anymore.
Right.
And you will see that, especially there's a mayoral candidate, Jesse Neville, and he has a little more experience in terms of being in the white community and just seeing
Sure.
the response that he's getting with a very similar platform.
Right.
And the fact that again they don't want to be complicit.
Right.
They don't like the reality they're in. I mean, they're unhappy about a lot of these things too that affect the black community, that affect their community as well.
Absolutely.
And these people don't want to see prosperity at the expense of the black community.
Right. They want equality as well, and yeah, you're right. I mean, you look at what happened with the Women's March and these different groups and all of these things. So I definitely think there's support that to be had there.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take another quick break, and then we'll come back with Akile Cainion. I got it. I'll get it, but like the next section, I'll have it, and it'll be solid. So we'll be right back with more from the Lakeside Chat. Welcome back to the Lakeside Chat, and it's for real. We outside. It's like not staged. We got bugs flying around, birds chirping, right? But no big deal. No big deal. So thank you again for tuning in. You can go to the page facebook.com/Lakeside Chat. Like the page, share it with your friends. We're here again with our dear sister Akile Cainion. You got to give me like a round of applause. I love it. And so before the break, we talked about the rigged election and so what are some possible solutions? So when we say it's rigged, I mean that was one of the things that Donald Trump said,
right.
And we see he won in the rigged system, right? So anything is possible. Right? So what would you propose as a solution to correct that? If you're elected on council, what would be a resolution or some way that we can actually address the rigged election system to make it fair?
Right. So, one, we see that a primary and a general election, typically when it's a partisan election, and we know that this district, this whole election is a nonpartisan election.
Right.
So, one, the primaries are completely irrelevant. And so we are on my platform calling to make it a genuine single-member district election. If that's what it's going to be called, it needs to be such. And that's to eliminate the primary, which also saves the city over $250,000 because it costs the city that much to put the primaries on.
Gotcha.
And we're saying an election, a take-all election in November, where it's the district voting in, their representative. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Because I noticed also just looking at the way that the mayoral race is done different from council. So the mayoral race the August 29th primary, if you get more than 50% of the vote, then there is no general election. But it's not that way with the city council. So would you be, like, if that came up as a motion, or if the community said, you know, we have a primary, but whoever gets 50% of the primary, that's it, you know, winner take all. Because if you can get 50% of the vote in the primary, chances are you're going to win the general anyway. And I'm thinking that's the logic behind the mayoral race. Would you support something like that? Or?
I mean, I guess that would be a step, but I still think that, again, it would save the city $250,000.
Right.
So it's, you know, there's an incentive there.
Right.
Keep that money in the city, and we can figure out where to put that other money. And that it just eliminates any possibility for the black community to be bamboozled.
Right.
And so that it is, you know, a take-all election in November. District votes in their leader. That's it.
Right. And so let's fast forward and say, okay, you're elected, you're sworn in, now you're on council. One of the things that I've seen is that we've had advocates on council, but in order to move things, it requires support of at least 4 other council members in order to get a vote done. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you see yourself interacting with other council members in order to get that support?
Well, again, I think that my line can never, you know, be compromised, and that I always have to put out exactly what it is that my district needs. And as far as working with other district members, you know, for whatever it is that this community needs, I'm going to fight for it. And if that means going head to head with these council members, that's what has to happen. But hopefully we just, you know, generate the support that we need. Again, you know, doing right by the city and what the city needs, then they, of course, would have no issue with what needs to happen in terms of the black community. Right. So. Gotcha.
And then, last thing, we definitely want to make sure that we announce the election date. August 29th is the primary. How's your name on it? Is it
Akile Cainion?
Okay, got it. And then, anything else that you'd like to say about your platform? Anything that, you know, you like to address and let the people know about you or about your platform and why they should vote for you?
Well, I would like to say that it's a platform that's really in the interest of the black community and the overall entire city. And again, it's a situation where it creates a positive vision of a future outside of poverty, outside of prison for the black community, and where nobody is living at the expense of anyone. And that's a real sunshine city. Right. That's what St. Pete is trying to make itself to be, but you have a situation where it's not. Right. And that, you know, if we want to be the sunshine, you know, city that we're claiming to be, then, you know, this platform needs to be adopted, and I need to be the next District 6 City Councilwoman.
And where can they find the platform? Because I know I've seen the palm card. It lists maybe 4 out of the 10 points on your platform. Where can we get that information or find out about you as a candidate or do a little homework?
Yeah, well, you can do a little homework. My website is akile4district6.com. And it's all right there. Also bio information, how you can join the campaign and also donate to the campaign as well. So.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you again for coming by. It's been an enlightening and inspiring interview. I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the trail, preparing for the debates. We've talked about that in our circle too, just looking to see the interaction. One other question now that I'm thinking about that. When people say that you're too young, we talked about governing, how do you respond to that? You ain't ready. You're too young. You're only 20 years old.
Well, I would say to that one, you know, in terms of the extensive biography of myself, would say that I've been in political work for a very long time. Again, I'm chairing an international campaign for justice for 3 young black girls. Right. And not only that, but again, I've been organizing in the city. And you're never too young to know and to do something about the conditions. And once you understand the situation and you know what you need to do to move it a step forward, then that's when I have to assume that responsibility.
That's right.
And this city has been very receptive to a very fresh, young face. That's what they want.
That's true.
I'm a new beginning for the South Side of St. Pete.
All right. And there you have it. Thank you again for tuning in to the Lakeside Chat. As always, we would like for you to go to the page, share it, facebook.com/Lakeside Chat, and we leave you with our parting words. Believe and do good.